Under the blinding lights of Madison Square Garden, the world once watched Muhammad Ali crash to the canvas, his pride shaken by Joe Frazier's thunderous left hook. It was the moment that proved even the man who called himself the greatest could fall. In this story, we uncover the painful defeats and hidden struggles that scarred his journey, both inside the ring and far beyond it. Before we get started, remember to subscribe so you don't miss the most exciting stories about boxing's legendary fighters. The night of March 8, 1971 was billed as the fight of the century, and it lived up to the name. Muhammad Ali returned to the ring after more than 3 years in forced exile, stripped of his title for refusing military service. Across from him stood Joe Frazier, the relentless champion who embodied raw pressure and tireless aggression. Madison Square Garden overflowed with anticipation, the eyes of the world fixed on two undefeated heavyweights clashing for supremacy. From the opening bell, Ali tried to reclaim his throne with sharp jabs and the graceful footwork that had once made him untouchable. But the long absence had dulled his reflexes, and Frazier surged forward, bearing hooks into the body and crowding every inch of space. Round after round, Ali's legs slowed, his counters finding less and less room. The chants of the crowd mixed with the thud of Frazier's punches, creating a rhythm of attrition. By the 10th round, Ali's face was swollen, his jaw clenched against the pain. He had landed clean shots but could not halt the march of a man fueled by defiance. Then in the 15th and final round, the unthinkable happened. Frazier unleashed his signature left hook, snapping Ali's head and dropping him to the canvas. For the first time in his career, Muhammad Ali lay knocked down under the glare of the garden lights. Though Ali rose and fought until the bell, the decision was clear. The judges awarded Frazier a unanimous victory. It was not just a loss, but a seismic shock. The man who had boasted he could not be beaten had been humbled before millions. The press hailed Frazier as the conquering champion, while Ali tasted bitter defeat for the first time. The aura of invincibility was shattered, and the world realized that even the greatest could bleed. March 31st, 1973 brought Muhammad Ali face-to-face with a fighter the public barely knew. Ken Norton entered the ring in San Diego as a heavy underdog, a Marine-turned-boxer with an awkward style that seemed more curiosity than threat. Ali, already plotting his path back to a title, expected to win easily. What unfolded instead was one of the most shocking nights of his career. Norton fought with a crab-like guard, arms crossed in front of his chest, slipping Ali's jabs and returning fire with stiff punches from odd angles. From the first round, he unsettled the rhythm of the former champion. Ali tried to control the distance, but Norton stepped through his defenses, punishing the body and snapping his head back with jolting shots. Somewhere during those grueling exchanges, Ali's jaw cracked. He later admitted he felt the pain early, yet he carried on, unwilling to show weakness. Each round became a test of endurance. Ali's words had promised domination, but the reality was a battle for survival. The crowd sensed the upset brewing as Norton's confidence grew, pounding away while Ali fought through swelling and agony. When the final bell rang, the scorecards revealed a split decision in Norton's favor. The result stunned the boxing world. The mighty Ali, who had withstood giants before, left the arena not only defeated, but with his jaw broken. Newspapers captured the disbelief, declaring that a little-known fighter had toppled the most famous name in boxing. It was an upset of the year, and another painful reminder that even legends can be broken. On a February night in 1978, the boxing world witnessed a story that seemed too improbable to believe. Muhammad Ali, the three-time heavyweight king, stepped into the ring at the Las Vegas Hilton, carrying the weight of legend. Across from him stood Leon Spinks, a fresh-faced fighter with only 7 professional bouts to his name. The odds painted Spinks as a sacrificial lamb, but the ring has no mercy for reputations. From the opening rounds, Ali relied on the familiar rope defense, leaning back and waiting for his chance to counter. But Spinks refused to be intimidated. He charged forward with youthful energy, throwing punches and flurries, his unpolished style backed by sheer determination. Round after round, Spinks kept pressing, cutting off Ali's movement and refusing to give ground. Ali landed sharp counters, Yet his speed and stamina had dulled, and each exchange left him visibly drained. As the fight entered the championship rounds, the veteran looked weary. Spinks, sensing history, found another gear. He poured on relentless combinations, rallying the crowd with the sight of a young challenger, standing toe-to-toe with the most famous man in sports. When the bell finally sounded after 15 punishing rounds, the judges delivered their verdict: split decision victory for Leon Spinks. The arena gasped. A rookie with barely a year in the professional ranks had taken the crown from Muhammad Ali. Newspapers the next morning called it one of the greatest upsets in boxing history. For Ali, it was not just a defeat, but a symbolic fall from the throne he had defended for so long. The legend had been dethroned by a novice, and the shock reverberated across the sporting world. By the autumn of 1980, Muhammad Ali was no longer the dancer who once floated across the ring. At 38 years old, carrying the toll of countless battles, he sought to achieve the impossible once more: to defeat his former sparring partner, Larry Holmes, and reclaim the heavyweight crown. The fight took place under the bright lights of Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, a spectacle staged in front of a roaring crowd and broadcast to millions around the world. Holmes was not only younger and the stronger, he was also a student who had once learned under Ali's shadow. Now he stepped forward as the champion, determined to carve his own place in history. From the opening round, the difference was stark. Holmes used his powerful jab like a spear, piercing Ali's guard and pushing him backward again and again. Ali tried to summon his old rhythm, raising his arms and feinting, but his body no longer responded with the sharpness of youth. Round after round, Holmes dictated the pace. The punishment accumulated, each jab swelling Ali's face and stealing fragments of his pride. The crowd, once thrilled to see their hero, grew uneasy. Howard Cosell, the commentator who had chronicled Ali's rise for years, could hardly contain his discomfort, pleading on air that the contest should be stopped. By the 10th round, Ali's corner saw what the world already knew. Angelo Dundee, his longtime trainer, ended the fight before further damage could be done. It was the only technical knockout of Ali's career, a defeat not by a single crushing punch, but by sustained dominance. Reporters described the scene as heartbreaking, a living legend punished by time itself. That night against Holmes, Muhammad Ali did not simply lose a title. He lost a piece of the aura that had once made him untouchable. December 11, 1981 marked the end of an era. Muhammad Ali, now 39 years old, entered the ring in Nassau, Bahamas, for what would become his final fight. The once fluid footwork was gone, replaced by the heavy steps of a man carrying not just years, but the weight of an entire legacy. Across from him stood Trevor Berbick, younger, stronger, and eager to make his name by closing the book on a legend. From the opening round, it was clear the magic had faded. Ali still tried to raise his guard with the confidence of old, but the speed that once dazzled the world had deserted him. Berbick pressed forward with steady determination, landing combinations while Ali struggled to answer. The rounds ticked by, and the gap widened between the fighter Ali had been and the man still standing in the ring. When the final bell sounded after 10 grueling rounds, the decision was unanimous. Berbick had won, and Ali walked away defeated for the last time. It was not a knockout, but it felt just as final. The crowd sensed it too. This was the closing chapter. The great champion had given all he could, and time had claimed the rest. In 1967, Muhammad Ali faced a battle unlike any he had fought inside the ropes. Drafted into the military at the height of the Vietnam War, he refused induction, declaring that his faith and his conscience would not allow him to take part. The response was swift and severe. On that very day, boxing authorities stripped him of the heavyweight championship. State commissions revoked his license, shutting every ring door in his face. The courts handed down a 5-year prison sentence, though he remained free while appealing. For more than 3 years, Ali could not fight, could not defend his crown, and could not earn a living in the sport he had mastered. These were supposed to be his prime years. Yet instead of boxing under the lights, he stood on stages at universities, speaking about war and justice. His exile turned him into both a symbol of resistance and a lightning rod for anger. When the Supreme Court finally overturned his conviction in 1971, and Ali stepped back into the ring, but he was no longer the same man who had left it. The long layoff had stolen speed and sharpness. To many fans and writers, those lost years were a tragedy greater than any knockdown. A forced fall that reshaped not only Ali's career, but also his place in American history. The punishment of the ring does not always end with the final bell. For Muhammad Ali, the signs of decline appeared long before he admitted them. After his grueling bout with Ernie Shavers in 1977, his physician, Ferdy Pacheco, warned him that the damage was mounting and begged him to walk away. Ali, stubborn and proud, ignored the advice. He believed that his name and willpower could withstand anything. But the years were relentless. By the early 1980s, his speech had begun to soften, his movements losing the crispness that once defined him. Fans noticed the tremor in his hands, the hesitation in his step. The man who had once floated on his toes now seemed anchored by invisible chains. The image was shocking for those who remembered the dazzling figure of the 60s. In 1984, doctors diagnosed Ali with Parkinson's disease. The news spread quickly, striking his supporters with grief. The vibrant showman who had thrilled millions was now fighting an illness that could not be dodged or outlasted. Yet even in weakness, Ali revealed another side of greatness. He appeared at public events, his body trembling, but his presence undeniable, reminding the world that courage is not only measured in victory, but also in dignity under hardship. For many, this battle was the harshest fall of all, yet it cemented his role as more than a champion in boxing. He became an enduring symbol of resilience. Long before he called himself the greatest, Muhammad Ali was a teenager named Cassius Clay, standing atop the podium at the Rome Olympics in 1960. Gold medal shining on his chest. That medal symbolized the birth of a champion, yet years later, it was gone. Stories spread that after a bitter encounter with racism, he hurled it into the Ohio River. Others claimed it was simply misplaced. Whatever the truth, the medal that marked his arrival had vanished. Decades later, at the Atlanta Games in 1996, the world saw a moment of redemption. Ali, his hands trembling from illness, was honored with a replacement medal and given the duty of lighting the Olympic cauldron. The sight of him lifting the torch became an image for the ages, a fallen hero, scarred but unbroken, still illuminating the world. Muhammad Ali fell many times, to Frazier's relentless hook, to Norton's broken jaw assault, to Spinks's youthful storm, to Holmes's merciless jab, and to Berbick in his final bow. He fell again outside the ring, stripped of titles, weakened by illness, and haunted by the loss of his Olympic gold. Yet every fall only magnified his rise. Ali's journey proved that greatness is not measured by perfection, but by resilience. He was more than a champion of boxing. He was an icon of courage. If you enjoyed this story, do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and check out more similar videos on the channel. Your support means a lot to us. Thank you.